What is up, everyone? This is the Casual Wrestling Community Podcast, where each and every week I dissect the worst takes from the disgusting and annoying IWC, otherwise known as the internet's know-it-all wrestling community. I am the notorious Nerdy D, the voice of the casual wrestling fans, and this is the place for those of you like me who are tired of watching wrestling all by ourselves and want to make awesome and normal friends to watch wrestling with. If you're looking for some casual but knowledgeable wrestling homies, make sure to join the Casual Wrestling Discord and introduce yourself to the crew, where you will meet other amazing casual fans like my guy B-Master, Wavy D, Milwaukee Mike, We Too Deep, and there are so many more cool people there to hang out with. This is not a reactions channel. We are not selling our souls to Tony Khan and Triple H so we could show up in the commercial breaks on Netflix overreacting to things that we already knew were going to happen. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cover my mouth or cover my ears when The Rock shows up to talk shit. It's not happening. That's not what this channel is. If that's what you're looking for, you can hop off right now. You can get off the casual train. This show is for my peeps who want to feel heard and have amazing wrestling conversations. So strap in as we bitch slap some more of the IWC this week. This is the Casual Wrestling Community Podcast.
Notorious.
Big it up, big it up.
So quite a bit to unpack here from the IWC this week. They were in a mood this week. They were on their game this week. They were in sixth gear. They were talking their shit as they always do. But there is a consensus right now from the IWC that this podcast, the Casual Wrestling Community, there's a consensus that this is a WWE biased podcast. False. There have been allegations about this show that Dirty D is being paid by Triple H. False. I wish it was true. Hey, send the check, Triple H, and we'll make things happen, right? No, not really. We don't do that around here. There's been accusations made in my inbox by numerous IWC and other content creators that the listeners of this show are just a bunch of brainwashed WWE drones. Once again, false. The internet trolls struggle with this concept that we, the casual wrestling fans, we just like good storytelling mixed with a little bit of good wrestling. And for the most part, for the last 365 days, that's what WWE's been giving us. That's why this show has leaned in the direction of the WWE. It is right now, at this point in time, the premier wrestling company in the world. If AEW steps their games up and changes a couple things, hey, maybe we'll be talking a lot of AEW wrestling a couple years from now. But right now, WWE is the go-to for good storytelling. Now, having said that, from time to time, and it's a very rare occurrence, we run into the rare and exotic WWE flavor IWC member. You guys know the type that I'm talking about. There are the IWC WWE drones that exist out there, the ones who think that WWE does nothing wrong. The ones that we sometimes get accused of being, but we're not. But it's the ones who praise every aspect of Triple H's booking. Now, I've been very pro Triple H lately because these last weeks I have felt like Triple H has done a good job in building towards WrestleMania 41. But this week, I came across a take from a rare member of the WWE chapter of the IWC, and it said, that was a 10 out of 10 Monday Night Raw. Does Triple H even know how to miss anymore? 2 hours of straight action from start to finish, just a complete clinic of what pro wrestling should be. Now, I'm not exactly sure if I tuned into the wrong episode of Monday Night Raw this week. Maybe I accidentally slipped and hit last week's episode of Monday Night Raw because I'm still getting the hang of how this Netflix thing works. They're showing previews for shows that haven't even happened. I don't know how that works, but the episode that I saw of Monday Night Raw this week was okay. It was okay. I'll go on record. I'm not as down on this episode of Monday Night Raw as I've seen some people in the casual wrestling community be. I'm not as down as Vince Russo, who called out WWE for basically saying they produced a shitty 2-hour and 20-minute show in Madison Square Garden that they capped with a Roman Reigns appearance. I'd say that I fall more in the middle of this road, right? That's not the level of Raw that I want or need heading into WrestleMania. I have higher expectations, and I will admit that with the next 3 episodes of Monday Night Raw coming at this weird midday 3 p.m., I don't think I have a lot of confidence in the next couple of weeks that Monday Night Raw may get better. My guy Milwaukee Mike from the Casual Wrestling Discord, he dropped a gem in the Discord questioning WWE's decision to go on the road the last few weeks or on the road to WrestleMania. And my guy Milwaukee Mike is exactly right. I'm 100% behind him. He dropped a gem in the Discord. Join the Discord. Go read it. He's right on point with this. I find it extremely strange that we are putting Monday Night Raw at 3 p.m. when people are at work, and before the woke army comes at me, because I know I'm gonna head off the argument. The argument's going to be that not all wrestling fans are American and the time is different in different places. Sure, that's great. That's fine. But WrestleMania is happening in Las Vegas. It's an American show, and the primary fan base is American. There's people who come from all over the world, don't get me wrong, but the bulk of that building is going to be American watchers. The bulk of the WWE audience is an American audience. And as we build towards a premium live event that is in the soil of the USA, this is a strange build to me. Now, I'm good. I'm okay. I've never been one to complain. You want to hold premium live events all over the world? That's fine. You want to run 3 o'clock Monday Night Raws in the lead up to those shows? Sure, I'm fine with that as well. You want to do a Clash at the Castle at 4 in the morning? I'll wake my ass up to watch it. But this shit, doing this in the road to WrestleMania just feels like a momentum buster to me. Like, it just feels like it puts a halt on a lot of the energy I had heading into WrestleMania, right? We can go on tour a month from now. We could do this same thing. Why not go on tour in the road to Backlash? It just seems silly. This just feels to me like a very Tony Khan-esque move to take the show on the road and run 3 o'clock in the afternoon Monday Night Raws as we get closer to WrestleMania. It just, to me, I don't love it. I don't love it. But back to Monday Night Raw. Back to what we came to talk about. I'm not sure if there's a drug that some of these people are taking that makes them view Monday Night Raw differently than me. Is there some new drug that I'm not aware of? I'm straight edge. I wouldn't know. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. So maybe I'm missing the optimal way to watch a Monday Night Raw. But to me, that was at best a 6, or you could slide up to a 7 on the casual scale for Monday Night Raw. Don't get me wrong. There were some key moments that helped me get through the night. I enjoyed Bianca Belair with Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Everybody knows I'm invested in Bianca Belair, so no, you're not going to get a complaint from me when she's in a prominent storyline, right? I think I enjoyed Chad Gable. I like this angle of the American Alpha luchador that we don't know who it is. It's kind of a swerve. Okay, I'll play along. I like that, right? My guy, We Too Deep, he's going out on record. He's made a prediction. He said that under that mask was Rey Fenix. Don't get me excited like that, We Too Deep. Unless you have insider information, don't get me excited like that. Because that would be a pretty dope twist. That would be pretty cool. I like the CM Punk and Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins setup, even though it goes against what I've been predicting. I can admit when I'm wrong. I can admit that I was holding out for The Rock and Roman Reigns. I had wishful thinking, but I'm in no way mad at what they just set up for night one of WrestleMania. I think we saw what Seth Rollins and CM Punk can do in a ring, and you add Roman Reigns into that, and I think that's going to be a fun night of wrestling. Where I fall off right now when it comes to Monday Night Raw, I thought that the Jey Uso match was redundant and messy. I still think that Gunther is an ineffective heel. I still don't love the way they're building up to this match because we ultimately kind of know what's going to happen. So they really going to have to get creative to get me to stay interested, right? I think that this match might have materialized just a tad bit too early, and it is now suffering from the week-to-week need to remind us that it exists. It's, like I said, the match will be effective at WrestleMania, but to me right now, it is a blip on my Raw radar. I don't need to see it every day of the week to be interested to it. We got Logan Paul and AJ Styles. That's a little bit of a whiff to me because I'm a big Logan guy. I'm a big Andrew Schultz guy. But this felt forced. This didn't get me excited for Logan Paul and AJ Styles. It's going to take a lot to get me excited for Logan Paul and AJ Styles. This feels like a bit of a miss for WWE. You have someone like Logan Paul who is white hot, who I think does get a reaction from the WWE universe, and to place him right now into a story with AJ Styles, somebody who I feel like I have no lost love for AJ Styles. I just feel like he's kind of floating around in no man's land, sort of like a Finn Balor. Maybe this is what gets him back on track. I just think you could have done better with Logan Paul. There were better matches to put Logan Paul in. Now, I'm not saying maybe this blows through real quickly and Logan's in something different, but it seems to me like we're headed towards this. And if this is going to be the hokey, bring in Andrew Schultz, bring in other celebrities, I don't know that I'm that excited for that. I think Cody Rhodes has found the proper heel. I think John Cena is going to be the guy who brings the fire out of him again. So I'm okay with Cody having to come out and cut promos week after week. I think they set up kind of masterfully the return of John Cena next week, where things will really start to kick into gear. I think we'll really start to feel what WrestleMania is going to be and the tone they're taking when John Cena and Cody Rhodes get into a ring together and really kind of set the stage for what that's going to be. Once again, I had zero interest in Raquel Rodriguez and Lyra Valkyria. And to be honest, if Becky Lynch doesn't show up soon, you can just count me out completely of paying attention of the Women's Intercontinental Championship, because right now Lyra is almost unwatchable to me. And I know that's a tough thing to say about somebody, but sometimes you can either be so good that you make me watch, or you can be so bad that I kind of root for you or root against you. Lyra's just like the Dallas Cowboys of professional wrestling. She's going to go 8-8 every season. She's good enough that I don't cringe when she's in the ring, but she's not doing anything to get over with the casual wrestling fan base. So I think if Becky doesn't show up in the next couple weeks, I'm just writing that title off as something that I'm not going to pay attention to. But as far as Monday Night Raw goes, I thought, like I said, the main event was beautiful. I usually hate that many false finishes, but in this event, it felt warranted, right? It felt like we don't know who was going to go over. It felt like, unless you were a very informed fan who expected Roman Reigns, which I wasn't. I didn't expect Roman Reigns. I got a kick out of the back and forth of this. And then when Roman showed up, excitement level went through the roof. Always when Roman Reigns shows back up, I get hyped back up. Using Paul Heyman with CM Punk was kind of a masterful way to add another twist to this match. So I think I am genuinely excited for this match moving forward. This might have moved into the Dirty D match to watch at WrestleMania. But yeah, I'm sorry. It's not a 10 out of 10. maybe a 6, maybe a 6.9 if we're playing the game where we could round up. It's a 7 out of 10. But there's a few things that are going to need to be handled in the next couple of weeks in order to get me more excited for these 3 o'clock Monday Night Raws. So in my continued clash with the IWC, I ran into a post that I felt might have been a slight overreaction. It was a post that said, "Big fumble by the WWE. If what I'm hearing is true, Shinsuke Nakamura will be AEW bound. WWE can't keep top free agents interested in sticking around in the company." Now, with all due respect to Shinsuke Nakamura, nothing against this dude, but there's no universe where Shinsuke Nakamura is a top free agent in the wrestling business. You gotta be honest. Shinsuke is a 45-year-old talent who struggles to effectively communicate with a broad audience. That's just the facts of the situation. And I'm not sure how reliable this report is. I don't know for sure that Shinsuke is out the door, but let's play along. And let's say that he's done with WWE and he's headed to AEW. This is just another example that I keep preaching about of Tony Khan scooping up a 40-plus-year-old wrestler whose appeal really only boosters his current fan base. The IWC will overreact to this, no doubt. They will claim huge victory. If AEW picks up Shinsuke Nakamura, they will tout all of these amazing matches, all of these dream matches that Shinsuke and Will Ospreay could have. The problem is nobody's watching. Nobody's going to watch these matches. Correction. You want me to be more specific, IWC? Casual fans are not going to be drawn to a Shinsuke Nakamura versus Will Ospreay match. It's just, it doesn't have the appeal that you think it is. Right now, if you want to be honest, the appeal of Shinsuke Nakamura to me as a casual wrestling fan was that he kind of had a cool samurai gimmick. He had cool imagery. He had a cool theme song. But once the bell rang, Shinsuke didn't really do it for me. He didn't, like, nothing he did in the ring was so outstanding. When I talk about the thing that gets guys over with a casual wrestling fan base is you have to do one thing extremely well. And I can't point to that thing with Shinsuke Nakamura, right? So to me, this goes deeper to a point that nobody's talking about. And I know that the White Knights of the IWC are going to show up, but when you can't communicate with an English-speaking crowd, it becomes extremely tough to get over. Now, there's people who do it, right? Io Sky's done a good job, but for the most part, when it comes to communicating with a English-speaking crowd, if you cannot communicate in a ring, live and in person, it gets tough to get over. There's a rough reality in wrestling, right? Wrestling is a global audience, no doubt about it, but the reality is 90% of televised shows occur within the United States and Canada. That's raw, hard facts. And a lot of what we feel as wrestling fans tends to be based on what the live crowd reacts to. Not 100%, but as casual wrestling fans, we tend to get behind whoever the crowd has anointed the chosen being for professional wrestling. Now, you can go to certain cities, right? You could go to smart cities like New York or Chicago, and those crowds will pop for the more indie appealing guys. But the reality is most American cities have bias. That is just a reality. You call it racist. I don't think it's racism. I think everybody tends to identify with somebody who speaks the way they do. But like I said, it is tough to get over without a very strong backing and a very strong push. At 45 years old, Shinsuke Nakamura was just not going to get that backing. He was not going to get the backing that he needed to get over and grow an audience in the United States. WWE is in a very interesting position right now with that. They have this abundance of talent, main event talent at that they currently don't have the need to really entertain the idea of keeping niche talent like Shinsuke Nakamura. The reality is with your Jey Usos and your LA Knights being sort of right now what you would consider the mid-card, WWE is in the position to let a guy like Shinsuke Nakamura walk if that's what he wants to do. And what does he really bring to a company like AEW? Because I think WWE weighs that into consideration when they see somebody who is going to leave. They go, does this guy put the other company in a much stronger position? And with Shinsuke, I just really don't think he does. I think he will strengthen the audience that they already have, but he won't grow the brand. He doesn't move the needle for fans that aren't already watching AEW. And this is an argument I make all the time about AEW, and that is AEW has to decide whether they want to grow and become a big boy wrestling company or if they're happy where they are. Because to talk to the IWC, they'll tell you all the time that AEW will and can be a competitor of WWE, but on the flip side, they recruit and grab wrestlers that really kind of bolster and lock into the IWC sicko small portion of the wrestling audience, and it just doesn't align with the messaging that AEW tries to give, that we're a growing company and just give us time, and we just need, we're a young company. You're a young company who runs exactly like an indie company, and to me, if you don't start to try to think outside of the box of just solidifying this indie sicko audience, guys like Shinsuke Nakamura just aren't going to do it. So the reality to me is WWE isn't dropping a ball here. Sure, I'm sure they would have kept Shinsuke Nakamura if he wanted to stay, but the reality is if his contract's running out and he decides he wants to go somewhere else, I don't think WWE's dropping a ball. I think that in reality, it's a little bit of addition by subtraction, right? At a certain point, some of these 40-plus-year-old wrestlers are going to have to move out of the way for the younger next generation of kind of up-and-coming NXT talent that WWE has in abundance. If a Shinsuke Nakamura leaves, it's just going to create more room for a Carmelo Hayes, who in reality, to me, is being held back right now because of some of these 40-plus-year-old holdovers that are part of the company. The reality is, to me, I don't even like LA Knight being a United States Championship. These guys who are 40-plus are going to have to figure out how to get it done on that next level to be a world champion, because they're clogging up the mid-card and not allowing guys like Carmelo Hayes, who is way overdue for the opportunity to hold a mid-card title, that we're going to have to get some of these guys kind of out of the way. A great rule of thumb would be, I wouldn't leave a mid-card title on a guy who's 40-plus years old, like a Shinsuke or an LA Knight. I wouldn't leave that title on them for longer than a few months at a time, and they would be transitional champions to put over someone like a Carmelo Hayes. That's just my opinion. So the next take I found from the IWC is another example of how you get on Dirty D's shit list immediately, and this one almost sent me into a spiral. So BET, the television channel BET, put out a list of the best black professional wrestlers of all time. And to me, it's about as accurate as I would expect a list to be made that was made from a group that is not in the wrestling community. So I don't argue with the list. Lists are all subjective and everybody gets to make a list the way they want. My problem was the IWC's response to this list that sort of sent me over the deep end. And it was one tweet in particular that I saw in regards, I saw this list, I was kind of reading through the list, I thought this is neat, this is a good list, this is one of the better lists I've seen. And then there was a response, first response highlighted right under the tweet that says, Bianca Belair shouldn't be anywhere near this list. Now, what fucking hole did this piece of shit crawl out of that they're trying to explain to me that Bianca Belair doesn't belong on a list of the 15 best black professional wrestlers of all time? Excuse me, who the fuck are you? And what made it even funnier was this was a white person who tweeted this. That made it even funnier to me. Not that race matters. I just found that comical. Now let's read through the list, right? Number 15, we have Jazz. Number 14, Shelton Benjamin. Number 13, Naomi. Number 12, Jacqueline. Number 11, Biggie. Number 10, Devon Dudley. Number 9, Bianca Belair. Number 8, Bobby Lashley. Number 7, Ron Simmons. Number 6, Junkyard Dog. Number 5, Sasha Banks. Number 4, Mark Henry. Number 3, Kofi Kingston. Number 2, The Rock. And number 1, Booker T. Like I said, I don't want to argue the validity of this list. This is BET's list. It's not my list. My list would probably look different, right? The only thing I'm here to question, the only thing I'm here to address right now is how someone in their right fucking mind could say that Bianca Belair does not deserve to make this list. I am completely fine with her being number 9 on this list. I could make arguments, if I'm picking apart the list, that Devon probably at this point in her career goes higher on this list than Bianca Belair, right? So we could move her to maybe number 10. I could argue that Ron Simmons was disrespected by being number 7. He should be in the top 5. I could question The Rock not being number 1 on this list. There are things that there are arguments that could be made about this list that I would have the open discussion with somebody about. But the idea that Bianca Belair does not belong on a list of 15 black professional wrestlers is absolutely asinine to me. And this, there are other questions. I would openly have the question, because this was one of the first things when I read this list. This was a philosophical question that came to me that I would love to have an open discussion about. And that is, how is The Rock not number 1? On a list of greatest black professional wrestlers of all time. Because here's the thing. I understand the argument, the philosophical argument that The Rock has a black father and a Samoan mother. I understand that argument, and so he may not be 100% black. But if he qualifies for the list, does he get docked on the list for not being 100% black? That's a real question I have that I would like to have the conversation about. The conversation I'm not going to have, though, is whether or not Bianca Belair is a top 15 black wrestler in the world. I'll have the conversation. Is there a world where Booker T is a better wrestler than The Rock on any list? That's a serious question. But I won't have the conversation. I won't allow the disrespect to act like Bianca Belair hasn't earned her way onto a list like this. And the question I ask constantly to the IWC is, where does this hate stem from? Where does this ignorance of wrestling stem from with the IWC when it comes to Bianca Belair? She has been a staple in WWE for the last 9 years. That's consistency. She's a constant mainstay in the main event scene of the biggest wrestling company of all time. And right now, the company's the biggest it's ever been, and she's about to be in one of the biggest matches at WrestleMania. She's the longest running Raw Women's Champion of all time. So tell me, where does this hate come from? Because I got a comment on a video I made a couple weeks ago where I talked about this same thing, and sometimes I sound like a broken drum, but it is ultimately confusing to me, and maybe I'm too close to it, right? Maybe I'm just a Bianca Belair fan, and that's the problem. So you guys could talk me down off this ledge, but I got a quote that said here, Bianca is overrated. She has a limited moveset, and she's whiny on a mic. Get off her nuts, Dirty D. That was directed directly at me. And I don't understand what the IWC infatuation is with these overinflated movesets, right? Look at the most successful pro wrestlers in history, and they have a very condensed moveset that the casual audience can comprehend. Look at your John Cena's. Look at Jey Uso. Look at Roman Reigns. Add Bianca Belair. It's not the flex that the IWC think it is that a guy like Will Ospreay could do 200 different variations of the suplex. Because that same guy who can do 200 variations of a suplex, he can't sell 12 tickets and 8 t-shirts. And to me, that's the definition of pro wrestling, is who can get over with the crowd. Bianca Belair, is she phenomenal on a microphone? I'd say she's fine. I'd say Bianca Belair's just fine. Is she better when she's chasing a title? Sure she is. Is this latest story she in a little bit dramatic and overacted? That's what it's supposed to be. It's fun. I'm enjoying this latest story where she's double working with Rhea Ripley and Io Sky on one side, and she's working Jade Cargill and Naomi on the other side. That it's all fun. That's what it's supposed to be. But let's also keep in mind, because the IWC is quick to forget. IWC loves a good heel, right? The IWC needs everybody to turn heel. That's what they need. That's what gets them excited. That's what gets them to pop. But the reality is Bianca Belair's had to work the main roster as a babyface the entire time she's there, and that is much harder to do than to be a heel. To be a heel, there are so many cheap tactics that you can use, talking about sports teams, talking about the culture of a city. You could do so many things to get reactions. As a babyface, it's literally you on an island having to talk about yourself and having to hype yourself up. And she does a completely efficient job of that on a microphone. to say that she's bad on a microphone is completely disrespectful to people who are actually bad on a microphone. Now, talk about her moveset. Her moveset's perfectly fine. For the pace of the style of matches that WWE wants to present her in, which is high energy on a nightly basis, she gets the job done. She does a couple flips. She whip people with her hair. She's got a wide enough moveset. I've never watched a Bianca Belair match and thought, damn, if she could do 10 more suplexes, that would just really get me over the top. The reality is, for the style that the WWE wants her to work, that's what it is. It's wild to me that the IWC will sacrifice all of the fun, all of the entertainment, all of the repetition that makes wrestling kind of get ingrained into your system. They will sacrifice all of that so that they could be hipster, so that they could feel cool, so that they can talk shit about people who are easily top 15. Easily. There's no argument she's top 50. I could argue her farther down the list. Her and Devon, I could argue farther down, closer to number one on that list. Where I'm more concerned, another argument if you could bring up to is, why is D'Lo Brown not on this list, right? That's an argument I'll accept. Why is the Godfather not mentioned on this list? The Boogeyman, why are they not getting recognition? But like I said, it's a subjective list. It's BET's list. They could do whatever they want. I would have those conversations with someone openly. I will not have a conversation of why is Bianca Belair on a top 15 all-time black wrestlers list. If you really want to have a conversation about someone on this list, let's talk about why Sasha Banks is number 5 and how much her stock has plummeted in the casual realm of wrestling since she left WWE. I'll have that conversation with you. I'll have a conversation right now. I'll make the fucking argument right now that Bianca Belair, at this point in time, right now, is a better wrestler than Sasha Banks. You want to have that? You want to have that argument? Jump in the comments. We can have that argument. So the next take that I want to address tonight is something I don't normally do, something I don't find myself often doing, and that is defending AEW wrestling. But this kind of continues a theme that I've talked about for the last couple of weeks, and that is this idea of kayfabe needing to be protected. Now, this take was dropped this week after what happened, I believe, at Revolution. Here's the take. It says, stupid to let an actress come on wrestling pay-per-views and say that wrestling is fake. How dumb can Tony Khan be to let this happen? I've been vocal about this the last couple of weeks, but I really want to lay into it right now. It is 2025. I will keep saying that until I turn blue, right? Why can we not just grow up? Like, why can the IWC just not grow the fuck up and admit that we all know wrestling is a scripted entertainment form of art, and that no matter if an actress in the stands accidentally says that out loud, or no matter if The Rock, the final boss, goes on Twitter and he says it out loud, it's not going to hurt the business, nor should it change your perspective on how you experience professional wrestling. If you are a grown-ass man or a grown-ass woman and somebody telling you something that you clearly already know to be true, if that affects your ability to process information, you need to go seek help immediately. You need to go find out what's going on inside of you, because you're a punk bitch then. Just because something worked for 20 years, right? Just because 20 years ago it was sacred to protect kayfabe, that doesn't mean that things don't evolve. That doesn't mean that in modern times we all have to play along that wrestling is anything other than just what it is. It's professional wrestling. It is scripted fighting. And I will defend Tony Khan on this. This is not Tony Khan's fault. He just put a microphone in somebody. He cannot control what they say. This is not Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's fault. He has sponsors and people he has to answer to, so he has to say things a certain way. And you dweebs in the IWC, you go to the dirt sheets every single day and you look for every spoiler you could find and you try to break kayfabe on your own every single day. But when someone else all of a sudden breaks the fourth wall, you have complete meltdowns on the internet. And to me, it's cringy. It's weird. I remember last week when the IWC were attacking me for defending The Rock and saying that The Rock talking about he's playing the role of the final boss, that it wasn't the equivalent to what I equated it to was Robert Downey Jr. saying that he talks about being Iron Man. The response from the IWC was, well, Robert Downey Jr. doesn't say it during the movie, which I argued that The Rock's not saying it during the movie. Every episode of Monday Night Raw is its own movie, and The Rock is speaking about it in between movies, which I find to be completely fine, right? Now, here's the problem. This same IWC that attacked me that tends to be AEW fans, it was like a present that was handed to me from the Angels on like a silver platter. But what happens is at an actual AEW event, someone actually said it in the middle of the movie. And I'm here to explain that I could keep my consistency. I could be petty. I could be petty right now and throw this back into the face of the IWC and go, no, that's what it's like when someone says it in the middle of the movie, and that's bullshit. But I don't even think that's bullshit. As a grown casual wrestling fan, I can keep the consistent energy to say I still don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't blame Tony Khan. I don't blame AEW. How is AEW supposed to know that somebody who was filming a wrestling movie was going to blurt this shit out? This should be a laughable moment. As casual wrestling fans, as IWC, as people there, we should just laugh at what happened. She made a mistake, right? It's not a 5-alarm fire. We don't need all the basement trolls freaking the fuck out, getting on the internet, tapping at their keyboards, screaming like they just learned nuclear secrets, right? It's comical. She said something. It broke the fourth wall. We can take it in jest. We can laugh about it. But we got to chill, man. This is wrestling, right? The other day, I got a comment it made me laugh so hard. I got a comment from someone who told me that I use the F word too much. And I was like, well, I do say fuck a lot, right? I'm a grown man. I'll say fuck when I want to say fuck. And they answered me back and said, no, I'm not talking about fuck. I'm talking about the word fake. You throw the word fake around way too often, Dirty D. I said, I can't say fake. I can't say a sport where they act out fights is fake. What are we protecting here? We all know it's fake. That doesn't discredit what it is, right? You want to talk about the reality, right? We all saw one of the greatest fake fighters, CM Punk, right? One of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time. We saw a fake fighter go into a place where they do real fighting, right? And we saw how that worked out. The issue is that the IWC wants to take that word and turn it into an insult when the reality is I have the utmost respect for the talent that it takes to be a professional wrestler. I respect the athleticism. I respect the amount of charisma. I respect the physicality. And when I say fake, I'm not talking about you don't get fucked up. I'm talking about you're not fighting. It's not a fight to the death. It's not a gladiator battle like the IWC wants to believe it is, right? Professional wrestlers are closer to action movie stars than they are to being UFC cage fighters. That's just reality. And it's pretty common knowledge. Most people know this. And if me saying this out loud, or The Rock saying this out loud, or an actress on TV saying this out loud makes you feel a certain way, you got to take a long, hard look in the mirror. Like, I've watched wrestling since the Attitude Era. That's how old I am. I'm an old-ass man. And I appreciate that The Undertaker felt the need to stay in character and to not break kayfabe. But spoiler alerts, there was never a point in time that I believed The Undertaker was really a dead man. And it wouldn't have changed my experience had I found out otherwise, or if I found out that The Undertaker goes to McDonald's and he eats in regular clothes. Now, respect to The Undertaker. We've had actors like Johnny Depp and certain people who will protect their craft and method act and things like that. That's great. That's awesome. But not everybody has to do it. Not everybody does it. And not at 8 years old, not at 13 years old, not at 21 years old, at 30 years old, and now I'm 2 days removed from being 40. I don't need kayfabe. I don't have to have it. I like it when the 2 hours that wrestling's on, I'd prefer that they don't tell me over and over again that this is not real. But what happens in between is not really that big of a deal. You guys got to kind of come to grips with this evolving and this changing that is happening in a social media area. I saw someone tell me the minute there was internet, kayfabe died. And I believe that to be true. I just wasn't as knowledgeable of like dirt sheets and things like that existing. But now that there's dirt sheets and social media, I mean, how do you guys handle certain wrestlers whose social media name is not their wrestling name? Do you guys just completely ignore who they are? Or are you able to comprehend that like Becky Lynch has a life outside of a wrestling ring with a child and she's a mom, but when she steps in the ring, she can play a character that is very different from who she is. I'm guessing Seth Rollins probably a pretty chill, normal dude when he steps out of the ring. But when he gets in the ring, all the costumes, the kind of the narcissism and those are things he's created up to play a character. So you guys got to come to grips with this idea that like, we know they're acting. We got it, right? And if The Rock says it, or an actor says it, or your favorite podcaster says it, it shouldn't affect your ability to enjoy the product. All right, so let's switch the vibes up a little bit and check in with the CWC to see what hot takes they had this week, starting with my guy, Wavy D.
Wavy D, yeah, he's smooth with the flow. Hot takes hit, got the game on go.
Wavy D says, my takeaway of the week, I don't understand the hate that Io Sky is getting from some online circles. The live audiences are loving her. She is getting just as big of pops, sometimes bigger pops than Rhea and Bianca on this build to Mania. Also, part 2, a pure Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair feud is not ready yet. That singles match needs way more time to build so that it can be legendary and not just another thrown together dream match. The reason that Io Sky is getting hate from certain circles in the IWC, Wavy D, is that wrestling fans are spoiled fucking brats. And if everything doesn't line up exactly the way they want it to, then they kick, they scream, they bitch, they complain. And if things don't make perfectly logical sense to them, then they lose their shit. That's the definition of being IWC. Io Sky is in the main event because, like you said, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair aren't ready for a one-on-one feud yet. But on top of that, Io Sky is in the main event because Io Sky is getting over with the casual wrestling fan base. You nailed it, Wavy D, and let me double down on what you just said, because I've gone on record as openly stating out loud numerous times to the casual wrestling fans, I don't understand the appeal of Io Sky. But I can say that while recognizing that I'm not a fan of Io Sky, I also recognize that this falls on me, that I'm not connecting with Io Sky. Probably never will, probably never am, but I'm okay with that as a casual wrestling fan. I can recognize the pop that she's getting and the reaction she's getting on a weekly basis. She has a strong fan base. And I may make jokes about it. I may make jokes about the end, but that's just to have fun. I clearly can recognize that she is more than over enough to be in that ring with with Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. And don't get me wrong, I am of the belief that at some point, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair is going to be a very special story. But they're just laying the seeds for the rivalry right now, right? And that rivalry could last years if it's played right, but this is foreplay. You can't just jump right in. There's got to be a little bit of a tease that gets us to what we're trying to get to. Io Sky makes sense here. I said it last week that I really hope they aren't so focused on Bianca Belair's record at WrestleMania that they let that get in the way of a great story. Because there's a great story to be told here with Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, and Io Sky. I believe Io should retain at WrestleMania, and that the fallout should be that Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair just didn't pay enough attention and didn't take Io seriously enough. And I think that they should continue on feuding after WrestleMania, not needing the title, and Io should go on to have a legitimate title reign as a world heavyweight champion that features some other wrestlers, where then eventually Bianca or Rhea could win that title back and they could clash for it later on around a Survivor Series, or hell, 365 days from now at next year's WrestleMania, you could run it back. But, will it happen? Who knows? But I'm 100% in your camp here, Wavy. Bianca and Rhea need to cook longer in order to get to be a special feud. And until then, Io Sky should not be hated. She should be appreciated for what she represents in this match. So the next take I have comes from my man We Too Deep in the Slapping Meat podcast.
We too deep, no way out now. Drowning in the takes, better learn how to swim or bow.
We Too Deep says, my takeaway is that NXT is the most entertaining and consistent wrestling show in the world. It just shows that when you take out all the convoluted booking and stop trying to outsmart the marks, the show is actually watchable. When even compared to Raw or SmackDown, it's miles ahead in my opinion. If I have to hear another person tell me how great NXT is, how Chef Shawn Michaels is cooking up the best week-to-week shows in pro wrestling, and how its premium live events all hit different, I might just lose my shit and quit podcasting, because this has now become the thing I get told the most. And now I'm saying that in a joking way, We Too Deep, of course. The old me would be frustrated by this, because this goes against what I want to believe about professional wrestling. But the new Dirty D, the mature Dirty D, looks into the Discord and sees the community of his closest wrestling friends and says, I don't know that I can argue anymore. I think I might have to give in. If We Too Deep says it, and then B-Master co-signs it, and then my guy Milwaukee Mike puts a stamp on it, who am I to argue with all these people that I respect in the CWC? So I have questions. This is going to lead me to questions, and I'm going to need answers. And this is not just for the B-Masters, the We Too Deeps, the Milwaukee Whites, the Wavy Ds, the Witters. This is just not for the T-Squires and the people who reside in the Discord. I'd love for everybody in the Discord to talk about it, but this is for everybody. How far back do I have to go to catch up? If I'm gonna jump into the swimming pool with you guys, the NXT swimming pool, how far back do I need to go to catch up? What do I need to know? How much do I need to commit? If I'm going to give myself another 2 hours of wrestling, I want to fully commit. I want to be fully immersed in this world that is NXT, that you guys talk about on a weekly basis and you're watching together and you're enjoying. I want to be a part of this group. I want to be a part of this crew. Who are we rocking with? What are the CWC vibes for NXT? I'm willing to do the homework if it's as good as you guys say it is. But here's the catch. This is the catch. It always comes with a catch when it comes to Dirty D. I'm going to give it 3 months, and I'm going to buy in completely, and I will check in weekly to let you guys know my thoughts on NXT and where I'm leaning and what I'm thinking and the feelings I'm getting. And you guys know, I ride hard for the red and blue. I ride hard for Raw and SmackDown. You guys know that I won't sugarcoat shit. If I watch NXT and I think it's dog shit, I'll get on here and call each and every one of you out for making me waste my time. But I also know that you guys are I respect your opinions highly. And if you guys are all saying this week after week, it's something I need to pay attention to. Now, is there a fear in me that I know NXT has a lot of pretty faces and I'm worried you guys are thinking with the wrong heads and you're getting me into something that I'm not ready for? Maybe that's what I'm thinking, but I will be the final boss when it comes to where we stack NXT in this pro wrestling hierarchy. So give me the setup. Tell me what I need to know. Give me the fuel that I need, and I will give it a fair assessment. I'm going to open-mindedly walk into this NXT experiment and take you guys for what you're saying. And anybody, this is everybody, explain to me what I'm missing. Double down on me. Let me know why I should be watching NXT. But that's it for this week. Please make sure to join me in the battle to take on the IWC every week, because they will come for us in the comment sections of this video. The CWC faction is stronger when we stand together. Make sure to tag me in any wild IWC takes that you find, or post them in the Discord so we can unleash casual hell on them. Like, subscribe, and share this video with any of your potential casual wrestling friends. I am the Notorious Dirty D, and the Casual Wrestling Show will be back next week. See you guys then.
With the crew, CWC fam, this is for you. We're the wanted men, mic in our hands. You keep telling